Rant. I am Pugs Moran. We do this every day, Monday through Friday, right here on the RadioMisfits.com platform and stream. I don't know what that's called. What are we calling it? All right, first and foremost, I've noticed that the chat room is empty, which is very rare, which on Friday we had this problem. The problem was that Restream, which is the platform that we use here, they've once again decided to change how they do stuff. So I don't even know if the show got promoted. Let me know. If you're in the chat room, say hi. We're just trying to make sure that we got it all working here. Cam's here. There you go. There's one. So at least somebody's there. Leslie's here. There we go. All right. That's what I need. Come on. You know how frail I am. How fragile. All right. We do this show every Monday through for take a drink. Take a drink. Calm down. We do this show every Monday through Friday live from the beautiful Kelly Moore Studios here in the E Gallery in Dallas's Design District. What is this show? Well, we talk about current events. It's a rant. I perform a stream of consciousness, which is I start talking and I don't stop until I'm done talking about all the things that I think we should all collectively know about that's happening in the world on this particular day. This is the first day that we're going to be doing this in a week. We took last week off. We were still streaming, but we took last week off. Many people know we had a terrible, shockingly unexpected death in our Radio Misfits family. My former radio partner, Kelly Moore, passed away last week, 1 week ago today. And so last week was really just about, doing the show, not doing the show, but doing a show, doing something. It was therapeutic, and I thank you all so much. I appreciate you allowing me to be that guy last week. But Rob Barr says, I didn't get notified. Byron says he did get notified. Al says, yes, he got it. It was promoted. Just got the alert after 4. Maybe I should put the alerts out earlier. I always think the alerts should go out just before the show goes on so that people are like, oh, I'll check that out now. I'm ready to do that now. But I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. You'd think. Can't even say that, oh, this is a new medium now. You can't say that. It's been 20 years. 20 years of digital media. We've been figuring stuff out. I should know this by now. So anyway, today is back to school day. It's back to normal day. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff that's happening in the world. We're going to talk about the Yukis. Oh my God. I wanted to talk about the Yukis last week. Yukis, man. Yukis are kicking some Russian ass. I'm kind of digging it. I kind of like it when the Rudy Yuki, kind of like that whole thing. We'll get into that. We're going to talk a little bit about the convention. Convention kicks off tonight. CNN's got the big countdown on 5 hours. Excuse me. Convention, Democratic National Convention in Chicago is going on this week. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk protests. We're going to talk celebrities. We're going to talk about what I think is going to happen. I wanted to be there. I covered the last one, 92. Of course, that was easy. I was working on a morning show there, and it was just kind of, instead of going to work every day, I just went down to the United Center, which was cool. But I got to see how that whole thing works. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We don't do a lot of politics on this show. It's not. We do politics, but it's a different kind of politics. Politics gets filtered through my lens, which is a lens that thinks that you people who are political are assholes. So it's a whole different kind of spin on politics. Also, I found this really cool thing. I was reading about Saturday Night Live. I'm a big fan of Saturday Night Live. I think it's an American institution, and it's a huge part of the culture that we in this country have given to the rest of the world in the past 50 years, let's say. So I'm a big fan of it. It's an American institution, Saturday Night Live, and it's getting ready for a new season, and they've got some people who are gone, and there are some people who are staying. And I found an article as I was linking through trying to learn about the new people, which have not officially been announced yet, but I do have a couple of early suspects that I'm going to say. There's this Asian girl from the Second City in Chicago who was really good. Who they've been saying she was supposed to be there last year. I don't know. Anyway, I found a list of big-time celebrities, big-time comedians, movie stars, A-listers, people who helmed like legendary, iconic TV shows for a decade plus. I found this list of people who auditioned for Saturday Night Live and were told by Lorne Michaels, "You're not funny." So we'll go through that as well today. Not a whole lot of heavy lifting. As you can tell, I'm still not 100% back. So many nice people have reached out. I just want to say thank you to everybody who has reached out. So many incredibly kind people with just nice words. Like, you just get these notes, and they're just from. Well, I'll give you an example without giving it away. But the great Danny Bayless, who is just I'm such a fan of. He wrote the most beautiful thing. Just like you can tell he's an artist, right? When you read that, it's like, fuck, man. And you know what I did? I didn't respond. I was just like, I can't respond to that. I don't know how to respond to that. I'm going to have to work that one out. But just people like that. Mark Cuban reaching out to Kelly's family. Mark was a big part of our early shows. Famously, there was an ongoing pretend feud between me and Mark Cuban because I accused him of stealing my idea for The Apprentice. Which in my world, I pitched a TV show live on the air called The Millionaire. It was just a dude who gave people money. And then, not The Apprentice. What did he do? What was Cuban's Apprentice knockoff that he did? I don't know, whatever it was. But I think I invented that, and I accused him of stealing it from me. And anyway, he was very good to us. And it was very nice to see that news had reached him, and he had expressed his control. A lot of really nice people. So thank you all so much. And if any of you are awaiting phone calls back from me, I will reach out slowly but surely. I'm trying to just go through everybody and just not be like, hey, thanks, dude. I'm trying to be thoughtful with each one. And you have to understand that every time I try to do that, it puts me in a really negative place. So it's not a lot of fun, but it is something that we have to do as humans, part of the mourning process, I suppose. Another part of the mourning process this weekend was me just fanatically trying to distract myself with shit. It's not like distract myself from, oh, poor Kelly, just the whole situation as it's hanging out, as it's beginning to unfold. There's kids now. It's just not a very fun thing. Oh, by the way, it is probably a good time for me to mention this. There is a GoFundMe set up for Kelly. So many of you have been so wonderful. Thank you. Appreciate that. The GoFundMe for Kelly, it's a direct link. You can go to pugsandkellyshow.com, or you can just go to gofundme.com and search In Loving Memory of Kelly Moore. But the pugsandkellyshow.com link, that takes you directly to Kelly's family's GoFundMe. Again, there is some uncertainty now over the next few months with the little kids and all that kind of stuff. So thank you so much. And it looks like it's going very well for them. And that's, I gotta believe, an extremely large part to a great many of you. So thank you so much for that. I'm going to leave that up if you're so inclined. What else needs to be mentioned? Oh, yeah. So pictures. Oh, God. So I'm trying to distract myself with stupid stuff. When I got stupid stuff, did you guys see Twisters? I'll give you a full review of Twisters. Is it a stupid tornado movie? Maybe. Is it also really cool? Maybe. We'll talk about Twisters when we come back. I just for a minute there pretended like I was hosting a real radio show. No, we'll talk about Twister later. But people sending me pictures, and a guy named Scott Rickamore. He's awesome. He, back in the earliest days of the Pugs and Kelly show, and I'm talking about back when we were in Chicago still, and just, sending our show to Dallas. He was like a budding young photographer, and he took pictures of everything. And back in the time, I didn't realize it. Back in the time, I was, Scott's got his camera, cool. I've never seen any of these pictures. From the earliest days, from the first time I met Sybil, he's got a picture of that. And I'm like, what? Me meeting Sybil? Or just incredible. So thank you, Scott. So I buried myself in pictures. Again, just looking for stuff that maybe the family hasn't seen. Let me tell you something else. The family cannot have just unfettered access to those pictures, because Kelly was a well-rounded woman. Let me just leave it at that. I mean, it's not like there's any sex pictures or anything, but you know what I mean? It's like, maybe you don't want to see your mom chugging a beer, with a bunch of strippers. I don't know. Her kids are cool. So But some great pictures. And every single one of those pictures, there's probably 2,000-3,000 pictures that I went through over the weekend. And it's, by the way, first of all, how great is that now, where it's all just digital and you got the laptop open and you're just next, instead of having to flip books and pages and your fingers and not every picture, but so many of those pictures just made me go, oh, I forgot about that. It's funny how our brains work. I hadn't thought about X number of situations that were captured on film there that I was looking at over the weekend. I hadn't thought about those situations in decades. And the minute I saw the picture, I'm like, oh my God, I remember that. So anyway, so that's that with that. So thank you all so much. And we're going to try and move forward. I was explaining to someone earlier, we're in this very weird place around here. We're in this very weird place where it's very human. And it happens to each and every one of us a number of times over our life. And as we get older, we tend to maybe learn to navigate them better. I don't know. But it's that moment in your life when somebody has died, right? And we're talking about somebody extraordinarily close to you, somebody that you'll never forget, a best friend, a mom, your brother, something like that. And we mourn them hard. And oftentimes for that first week while you're doing the business of death, wakes, funerals, memorials, those kinds of things, during that week, you're numb to it all because you're sort of just going through it. And if you're in a position where we're focusing on somebody else who you think might be affected even more as a way to distract yourself, you do that. And that's what we do. Every human does it. But then comes the next week, which is this week, where it's like, okay, I'm still alive. We're all still alive. And there are stuff we need to do. But when I say that real human thing, the real human thing comes where we feel guilty about it. We feel guilty about getting back. We feel guilty about not spending every moment thinking of them. That's where a lot of us are right now. It's where a lot of us are today. I mean, her son's a high school teacher. School started. He's back teaching classes. So if he can do it, we can do it here. Let's say hi to the chat room. Edward Silla would like to mention, yeah, this is true. This is true. I love this podcast. The RadioMisfits.com platform. Radio Misfits are our home base. Radio Misfits, who we are. RadioMisfits.com has an SNL podcast by Nick DiGilio, who Nick DiGilio is another perfect description of a radio misfit. He was a talk show host that I used to love to listen to in Chicago. Well, he's really good. And he does a show called... Is that show still on? I think that's what it's called. Or you can just go to RadioMisfits.com and start listening to some of Nick's stuff. Nick is so cool. Nick is great. And yeah, that Saturday Night Live Radio Misfits podcast hosted by Nick DiGilio is really interesting. Really, really interesting. Okay, what else do we have? We got Kojak's here. Bada bing, he says. Barney says the benefactor. And he absolutely stole it from you. Yes, he did. Yes, he did. Well, what happened? See what's going on here? What? Where did my camera go? Nope. Oh, you guys. Do you see what Restream does? I mean, what the hell? Hold on. Well, this is actually how I prefer to do the show without camera. I have no idea what's happening. No idea. I don't see anywhere to X out of any of this. No, I don't know that I want to leave this. Guys. Add a media source, slides, video, screen, or other. How about none? How about go the fuck back? How about not this page? Or that's what I'm looking at here. Minimize, hide what? What am I hiding? Slides. All right, there you go. We'll do slides. Okay, never mind. We want to go back. We don't want to do slides. I have no idea what's happening here, folks. Hold on. Let me try one thing. Hold on. Need help. There's like a need help thing. Ugh. Screen. Cancel. Jesus friggin' Christ. Well, okay. I guess this is just what we'll do then. I'm wondering, can you guys see me? Like maybe you guys can still see me and I just can't, and the screen is just gone. Hold on. What? Nope. Nope. You guys can't see me. Okay. All right. Well, let's try and figure this out. Video? Nope. Don't want to do video. You don't have any. Okay, good. I don't have any videos. Add to your stream. I don't want to add anything to my stream. I don't even know how the fuck I got here. What is this? Demo? What the hell? There we go. Thank you, Ed. Don't know what this is. All right, now somebody's got to explain to me what that box is that, oh man. Thank you, Ed. Appreciate it. There you go. See, we were having a beautiful fucking moment. And then Restream redoes their whole thing. All right. There you are. Yes, Chris. How are you? We'll let Ed finish doing his thing. I'm like an Amazon tribal person. Whenever I see Ed pop onto my screen and just start moving the cursor around, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm looking at. It's magic to me. That's what's happening. All right, now he seems to just be doing some. Now the screen is too small. Don't know why the screen is so small all of a sudden. I got all kinds of stuff on the right quarter of the screen that I don't need. Oh, that's because of that. Boom. All right. Yes, Kojak, I could be naked. Al says, yo, happy to hear you a little more happy this week, amigo. Death of a loved one is a bummer. Work and keep busy is therapy. Yeah, you know. Yeah, Ed, they love to add new stuff. Thank you, Ed. Ed to the rescue. But when they add new stuff, they change the order. I don't know what I'm doing. I have people around me who know what they are doing. I create this show every day out of muscle memory. That's it. It's just I go here, then I go here, then I go here. And when Restream stops that, hi, Frank. Guys, I'm going to try and just get started. Can you tell I'm trying to put it off? Can you tell I'm like, oof. Big changes coming to the show. I only say that because Ed is there. Ed's like, what changes? All right, so I mentioned I distracted myself with football, with preseason football. That's how low I've sunk. But I would argue this. You know, a lot of people, we Chicago Bear Nation, very excited about the coming football season simply because we have the number 1 and the number 9 pick, and they look like they're very good together. So preseason football, after, you know, sucking for like 3 years, is something that people like myself enjoy. Bear fans. So I watched football. I was at that for those couple of hours where I was just watching a Bear preseason game against the Cincinnati Bengals. I was happy. I was like, okay, all right, very good. So I distracted myself. You know what then distracted me that I got a little bit angry over here? Let me show you this. All right, so in Chicago, the Chicago Bear family, they love our Simone Biles, right? She's one of ours. We love her. Jonathan Owens' wife. Jonathan Owens is our safety, and she's there. She's at practices. She's walking around. It's really cool. I guess. I don't know. I don't care. She's a gymnast. But, you know, I guess it's big news because she's kind of big now. She goes to the game on Saturday. She goes to the Bears game on Saturday. And she's, look, here she is. Let me show you pictures. Let me show you some pictures of her at the game on Saturday. This is Olympic hero, Simone Biles. The whole city is like, what the hell, man? What are we supposed to do with this information? Here, look at her. Hold on, I'm going to show her to you. First of all, she is so small. She is literally 2 inches shorter than what constitutes a dwarf. That's great. That's true. Anybody 4'10" and under is a dwarf is 4'10" and under. She's 4'8". Anyway, here she is. Look at her. That's her. That's her on the sideline before the game, kissing her football player husband. There she is up in one of the boxes. She's looking sexy. She's looking like a player's wife or girlfriend. You see that she's got a cool jacket on. There she is in the stands with her cool jacket, and everybody's like, hey, it's Simone Biles. And then there she is again with her cool jacket. Here's the problem. That's a Green Bay Packer jacket. What is she doing? Her husband used to play for the Green Bay Packers. He's a Chicago Bear now, and she's still wearing Packer swag on the sideline of the Chicago Bears. American hero or not, this woman, come on, party foul, Simone. Maybe she's just trying to get a really cool Chicago Bear ones because you know that people are just going to line up now to make stuff for her. She has to wear that ugly shit, you know. All right. So, yeah, that's how I distracted myself this weekend. Once again, a reminder that if you do want to help out Kelly's family, there is a GoFundMe set up at the pugsandkellyshow.com. That is a direct link that takes you to her family's GoFundMe. What do you say we get started here? It is the High Noon Rant. No, it's not. It's the Noon Rant live from Kelly Moore Memorial Studios here in the beautiful E-Gallery in Dallas's Design District every day, Monday through Friday on the RadioMisfits.com platform, a production of Radio Misfits Dallas. That ain't never going to fit on a business card. That is too much. Let's get started with the rant. It is the 19th day of August. Oh, God. Holy shit, you guys. Let's take a look. I'm afraid to take a look. Hold on. It's the 19th day of August here in North Texas. Dallas, if you will. Okay, we're looking at right now, according to my phone, we're at 100. Well, no, you need to see that. You need to see that. 100 degrees. We're at 100 degrees. How high is it going to get today? It says we're going to top out at about 105, but that's okay because that's going to be at 7 o'clock. It's going to be 105 at 7 o'clock. By 9 p.m., it's still going to be 100 degrees. And then don't worry, if you're up and around at 4 a.m., it's going to get to about 84. So there you go. That'll be nice. This weather, man, I know I say it every year, but it has been sneaky awful. It hasn't been like we had last year where it was like 3 consecutive months of 100-degree temperatures every single day for 3 months, but it's been sneaky bad. It's never been a break. It may not have been 100, but it has been like 95 since Easter. You know, it has just been, so hot. And you go outside, you try to walk the dog at night and you're like, oh, this will be nice. It's 9 o'clock at night. No, it's still 100 degrees. There's no sun. This doesn't make any sense. Anyways, weather. All right, let's talk about, let's see, what day is it? It is the 19th day of August. It's going to be this way till Thanksgiving. It's going to be shitty till Thanksgiving. I remember when I first came down here, we came down, it was like Halloween. I think it was like our first week. And I was used to like Halloween, so we went to some haunted house. And I brought clothes that I have for Halloween type year, except in the Midwest. And I remember I'm wearing a jacket, I'm wearing a jean jacket, because my memory takes me back to every haunted house I had to wait in line in the Midwest on October 31st was cold as balls. And I'm like, we going to have some hot cider? No, not in Texas. No parkas on hay rides. It's all just, relentlessly 100 degrees. Rotting, steaming, busted pumpkins just stinking up the place because, again, it's 100 degrees in October. It is the 19th day of August, year of our Lord, 2024. It's the 232nd day of the year. There's 134 more of these remaining until the end of the year. The show we do in 4 quarters. There are 4 different segments. The first one we call Antecedently on This Day. What's that, you ask? Well, it's take a look back at history. That's all it is. Antecedently on This Day is just a fancy way of saying previously on October. Now I got October on the brain. I want it to be October so bad. August the 19th. All right, antecedently on this day in 1848, the California Gold Rush officially began this day in 1848. See, it took a while for people to get there, so they got there around New Year's Day of 1849. And that's why we have the San Francisco 49ers. California Gold Rush. It was on this day that the New York Herald breaks the news to the east coast of the United States of gold being discovered in California, beginning what we commonly refer to as the California Gold Rush. There you go. Antecedently on this day, 1991, the dissolution of the Soviet Union. Where were you? Where were you? Oh my goodness! I was sitting at the bar in Giordano's. This is a legendary pizza place. I was working there at the time. I was a kid. Let's see. I was doing lunch deliveries because I was working on the morning show. So I was up, and I would go straight from doing the morning show to Giordano's at noon and start doing some pizza deliveries for a few hours. And I remember on this particular day, it was slow. And I'm watching CNN, and I'm watching these government buildings in Soviet Russia on fire, and I'm seeing tanks rolling through the streets with people waving flags, and I'm like, holy shit, we won. That's it. We won the Cold War. It was on this day in 1991. I saw something I never thought you have to understand, for a kid that was raised like I was, and many of you were as well, in that time period, it wasn't like Russia was going to go away. The Soviet Union wasn't. We were led to believe that they were so far more advanced than us. Oh, we've got to keep spending money on tech development and military because the Soviets do psychic surgery and have alien friends. And then to see the whole goddamn thing crumble? Holy cow. That was antecedently on this day in 1991, the dissolution of the Soviet Union. The August coup begins. On this day in 2004, antecedently, Google has its first initial public offering on NASDAQ. Did you buy? No, you didn't. Because Google sounded stupid. Google sounded dumb. That's who we were. Google. Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Good. Go ahead. Put your last $500 in that. That sounds like a real smart move there, genius. That's going to do it for quarter one. Antecedently on this day. Part 2, birthdays. That's right. Segment 2, we take a look at people who are having birthdays on this day. So let's do it. These are people claiming to have been born on this day. On this day in 1921, Gene Roddenberry, American screenwriter and producer. He's the Star Trek guy. Never got into Star Trek as a kid or as a teen. I liked girls. But I don't know. I never got. There's a lot of stuff. I have these holes. I have these holes now, like these I call them blind spots in my cultural awareness. Like I've never seen a Hobbit movie, like Lord of the Rings or any Two Towers or whatever it is. I've never seen any of that. I've never seen a Fast and the Furious film. I've never seen a Harry Potter film. Although Harry Potter I've seen clips of and stuff because my kid used to watch it when he was little, so I'd be in the room and I'd be like, oh, this is what Harry Potter's about. But I have these blind spots. But this isn't just because I started to get older. No, it seems to me that cultural phenomena that I don't have any initial passionate interest for, I just let slide by me. Because as a kid, I had zero interest in Star Trek. I had zero interest in James Bond films. I had zero interest in Westerns. I wanted Evel Knievel and I wanted Muhammad Ali. That was it. Gene Roddenberry. To a lot of people, he's like a god. So bless you, folks. Gene Roddenberry, born on this day in 1921. Born on this day in 1931, celebrating a birthday. He's dead. He's an a-hole. Ginger Baker. What's Cream, obviously, but also Ginger Baker's Air Force, I think was another one. Canned Heat. Was he in Canned Heat? He was in Cream. Ginger Baker was a very, very good rock and roll drummer, bounced around, played with a lot of people, most famously associated for his work with Clapton when Clapton wasn't playing with Buddy Miles or somebody else. Ginger Baker is also famously known for being an a-hole, like just a lunatic, a crazy person. There is a documentary that was made about 5 or 10 years ago about his life. He left the rock and roll world in the late 1970s as this icon, this legend, this guy everybody wanted to work with, but he just hated people, and he bought a whole swath of land down there in South Africa and lived down there, I think, for the rest of his life. But a documentary filmmaker wanted to tell the story of Ginger Baker, so he went down to South Africa and he tried to get on his property. It was awesome. It's awesome. Ginger Baker is crazy. Wait a second. You know what? I need to know what that damn Ginger Baker documentary is about, or what it's called, because I would like to see that again. Let's see here. Documentary. What's it called? Oh, that's what it is. Oh, yeah. It's called Beware of Mr. Baker. Oh, and there's a trailer here. Let's watch this, shall we? This is a really good documentary. If you like rock and roll documentaries, Ginger Baker's a really interesting guy, and I suggest you look for this. Beware of Mr. Baker. Why beware of Mr. Baker? Because dude's an a-hole.
This film is about Ginger Baker, a man who stands for something in life that probably most of you do not.
Ginger Baker's a mother. That's it. He personally is what drums are all about.
He's certifiably nuts. He's mad.
Well, I think he was kind of fairly consistently horrible to people and to himself.
If they got a problem with me, come and see me and punch me on the nose. I ain't going to sue you, I'm going to hit you back.
He was dope addict, man. He was into drugs heavily.
Like a great virtuoso madman.
He's a force of nature.
The world's greatest drummer.
He was really at the forefront of a complete revolution of rock.
Before Ginger, rhythm was ting, 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 ting. And Ginger comes along with
in a white room with black curtains.
Ginger wanted a case of beer and 2 black hookers and a white limo, so he wouldn't play.
He pulled a knife on me and said, "You're fired."
A couple of seminal years and does all this stuff, and then poof, all of a sudden he's in Africa.
He predates everybody else who later on said, we discovered the sounds in Africa.
He's moved around the world, flown out of every country.
I don't know if it's his ability to move on or is his inability to stay. I think he has trouble staying. And so moving on is his option.
You know, I don't think he should have had a family. I think he would have been way better off in his life if he never had kids and just, you know, did his thing.
All right, there you go. That's all we need. You know, I don't think you should have had a family. If they're saying that about you after you're dead, they're probably right. First of all, born on this day in 1939, Ginger Baker, Beware of Mr. Baker, a great documentary if you're interested in that sort of thing. Born on this day in 1946, former president of these here United States, Bill Clinton. Born on this day in 1948, former second lady of these here United States, Tipper Gore. Think Clinton ever tried to get with Gore? I bet Tipper Gore was not terrible looking. She was not terrible looking back then. She was a little bit plump, but we know that doesn't bother Bill. Well, he would have been into that. Tipper Gore and Bill Clinton both celebrating birthdays today. Born on this day in 1963, claiming it's his birthday, John Stamos. Oh, man. Here's what I would give. I would give 5 years off the back end of my life to have 6 months as John Stamos. I'll give you 10 years if you let me pick the 6 months from John Stamos' life. Happy birthday, John Stamos. I don't know what the hell's going on with you. I don't know how you got to be you or whatever, or what genetic lottery you hit, but my God, life has been good. Here's a guy who did not hit the genetic lottery. In fact, everything good probably went to his brother, but that's a whole lot of what makes him him. Kevin Dillon, born on this day in 1965. Kevin Dillon, the little brother, the Frank Stallone to Matt Dillon. Kevin Dillon, of course, played Johnny Drama on Entourage. And man, here's what I don't know. I haven't seen enough of Kevin Dillon's acting to know if Johnny Drama was a character he created or if that's just pretty much all you get with him. Right? You know what I mean? Like, for instance, give you an example, Tony Danza. All the characters Tony Danza plays is Tony because is named Tony because except I guess in Taxi it was Bobby, but he didn't have any say or any pull when he was cast on Taxi. But everything he's done, he's always been Tony. And the joke was it was because he didn't recognize his character's name and wouldn't respond, so he had to call the character by his real name. But he's the same dude in everything. Tony Danza is just Tony Danza. So I don't know if that's what Kevin Dillon is or if he's a master actor, because I'm telling you, if it turns out you talk to Kevin Dillon in real life and he sounds like, Sir Laurence Olivier, and then you look at the character of Johnny Drama from Entourage, that is an actor, because that's a great, great character. Johnny Drama, Entourage. Happy birthday, Kevin Dillon. Born on this day in 1965. Born on this day in 1965 also. Kira Sedgwick. First of all, let me just say this. I like Kira Sedgwick. I think she's talented. Kira Sedgwick and Kevin Bacon, they very well could be in my top 5 favorite celebrity couples. It's a very real thing. Who's my new favorite celebrity couple? I had a new favorite celebrity couple. Remember how it used to be Kristen Bell and Dak Shepard? They've been pushed down to 2 because I've got a new favorite celebrity couple and I can't remember who they are. Anyway, point is this. Kira Sedgwick is having a birthday, and I've never quite really... here was something that was kind of confusing about Kira Sedgwick. When Kira Sedgwick first burst onto the scene, she burst onto the scene at around the same time as another big hot young actress, and that actress's name was Julia Roberts. And you had Julia Roberts and you had Kira Sedgwick, and they both had the same haircut. They both had the same curly hair, look at my hair. And before they were both, easily distinguishable from one another, I used to look at both of them and go, okay, wait, which one is which? And then finally I realized that, okay, it's not that hard because one is significantly more beautiful than the other. But that is not to say that Kira Sedgwick isn't gorgeous. Kira Sedgwick is gorgeous. It's just that I was always looking at her next to Julia Roberts, and it's like, okay, there are very few women who are going to do well against a 25-year-old Julia Roberts. She was pretty hot back then, is my point. Anyway, happy birthday, Kira Sedgwick. You're cool. You're a great actress, and I think what was that? What did I just work through there? What's that? I find myself apologizing to Kira Sedgwick for not finding her as attractive as Julia Roberts back in 1993. Okay, we're going to move on. Born on this day in 1969, and somebody who's trending today that we're going to talk about, Matthew Perry. He liked drugs. More on that coming up. Born on this day in 1998. Happy birthday to Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, God. Kirk Cousins is a fine NFL quarterback. He really is. He's good. If you build a team around him, he will not shit the bed and screw it up for you. And also, he's going to win you some games. Kirk Cousins is he's like a robot, though. Kirk Cousins is a good example of there are 2 kinds of quarterbacks in the NFL. There are artists and there are surgeons, right? And so Kirk Cousins is a surgeon. Kirk Cousins completely understands the play where everybody is supposed to be. And when it comes time to pull the trigger, he can operate surgically. Boom, right there, completion. And that's what he is. And then there are artists, like Patrick Mahomes is an artist. Josh Allen is an artist. I think because of the way the NFL has changed, I don't want to see any more surgeons. Okay. I want to see more artists. I want to see more people running around creating, off balance throws of 50 yards. I'm trying to like Kirk Cousins because, for one, he's like a Chicago area high school football player who made good. And we like that because we don't really produce many quarterbacks. So he's our guy. I mean, JJ McCarthy is also from the same suburban league that Cousins was. So maybe we're building something. I don't know. But he's just so boring. He's just so boring. Kirk Cousins, happy birthday. Born on this day in 1988. I was going to say Minnesota Vikings. Atlanta Falcons, of course. He's slated to be their starting quarterback as they just gave him a massive deal in the offseason. All right, that's going to do it. Let's talk about deads. These are people who have died. These are people who have died on this very day. We're going to go through this list very quickly. We're going to decide whether they went to heaven or hell. Dead on this day in 1977, the great Groucho Marx. Groucho. You know what? I'm going to put him in heaven. Groucho Marx. I gotta figure out how to. I love Groucho Marx. That dude. He is one of those people. There are very, very few comedians who, and I mentioned Bill Murray is one. Christopher Guest used to be one. Bill Hader is one now. Jason Sudeikis is one. There are just these people who, Jack Black. Zach Galifianakis. There are just these people who, the minute they come on screen, they don't even have to do anything, but you're already looking at them and you're starting to giggle because you're like, that's what Groucho was to me as a little kid. There was a lot of stuff when I growing up in the 70s. There were a lot of black and white stuff on TV. A lot of old shit from like the 30s and the 40s. We got the Little Rascals and the Stooges and all that, Abbott and Costello, all of this stuff. I love the Marx Brothers. The Marx Brothers was who I went. This is, look, all my friends were like into like the Three Stooges and stuff. And I'm like, nah, dude, have you ever seen Duck Soup? That shit is funny. And it was Groucho. Now, the rest of his brothers, the Marx Brothers, they were all terrific actors in their own right. And they were great comedic, what do they call it? Physical comedy people. Jesus, man. I mean, Harpo Marx, that was some of the greatest, that set the groundwork for all physical comedians who would come after him, and he was a contemporary of Chaplin. So that says a lot. Harpo. But Groucho, man. Groucho. You ever listen to Groucho? That dude had you want to talk about a silver-tongued devil. That guy had the best one-liners. He had the greatest wit. Groucho was hysterical, man. Smart comedy. Slowed down. Listened to everybody else was doing pie in the face, kick in the nuts comedy. And Groucho's out here in like 1925 slaying rooms with wicked burn comebacks. He was just great. So I'm putting him in heaven. There you go. Groucho Marx. Dead on this day in 1977. Dead on this day in 2012, Tony Scott. Tony Scott, this was fascinating to me because I was a Tony Scott fan. I thought Tony Scott was a film director. He is the brother of Ridley Scott. Ridley Scott is probably a little bit bigger than Tony Scott, but don't get it twisted. It ain't like Tony Scott ain't never done nothing. Tony Scott is the Top Gun guy. Tony Scott directed Top Gun. Tony Scott directed The Hunger, which was an awesome 1970s werewolf movie. He directed Days of Thunder, Beverly Hills Cop 2, The Last Boy Scout, Crimson Tide. He was great. Tony Scott was a great film director. I mean, Jesus, if he just made Top Gun in Beverly Hills Cop 2, hang your hat on that. He was the little brother. I don't know if he's the little brother or the older brother of Ridley Scott, but they were very close and both together. You look at their filmographies and you're like, holy cow, these dudes made a lot of movies in the 70s and 80s, 90s. Tony Scott died by jumping off a bridge in California. Tony Scott killed himself. And I don't know that we have a story as to why he ended his own life. He left notes. He left detailed notes to his family, and they've never been released. They've never been, we don't know. Ridley Scott is the only information that we have. A couple of years after the passing of his brother Tony, Ridley Scott said that his brother had been secretly battling cancer and that he had recently gotten some very bad news about his own mortality. So he decided to take, but that has been denied by the family. Like his wife and stuff have said, yeah, that's not true. So we don't know. We still don't know. On August 19th, 2012, at approximately 12:30 p.m. Pacific Daylight Time, Director Scott jumped off the Vincent Thomas Bridge in the San Pedro Port District of Los Angeles. Investigators from the Los Angeles Police Department's Harbor Division found contact information in a note left in his car parked on the bridge and a note at his office for his family. One witness said he did not hesitate before jumping, but another said he looked nervous before climbing a fence, hesitating for 2 seconds before jumping. He landed beside a tour boat. God, I hope you don't want to hit anything. You know, it's like if I'm gonna die of blunt force trauma from, you know, water impact, let's just have it be that. I don't need to, like, you know, bang my head off the bow of some tour boat and just, you know, whirly gig down the rest. I don't need that. Whew. Anyway, that's terrible. Tony Scott, Hollywood director, took his own life. Can't go to heaven if you took your own life. That's going to be my thought on it. So there you go. All right. That's going to do it, folks. Those are the first 3 quarters of today's show. Antecedently on this day, birthdays, and now the deads. We're going to now seamlessly slide right into all the things that people are talking about today. Let's see here. Say hi. Some new people. Sorry, I'm just checking out some of the... Oh, we're talking football quarterbacks. Okay, I see. I'll talk football quarterbacks, but not today. Not right now. You know what I want to talk about? You ain't even talk football quarterbacks. You know what I want to talk about? I want to talk about, of course, what's on top of my mind? What can I rant about now? Daniel Jones and the New York Giants, of course. No. Don't get me started talking about football. I don't know if you guys know this or not, but I lost someone very near and dear to me recently, and I have to find something to distract me from the overwhelming burden of being the one left behind. And football this weekend was that. Preseason though it may be. Deal with it. All right, let's get started here. Let's see here. Moving into all of the things that are happening in the world today. This is the fun part of the show. Quarter 4. We call this, Here's Today for You. We've never called it that before. Did we just find, should that be the name of this? Here's Today for You with me, Pugs Moran. All right, first and foremost, let's talk about the Ukis and the Russians, because man, oh man, am I loving this. You know, I'm a big Rudy fan. I love anytime the little guy, he gets his, you know, couple of punches in. This is that scene right now. This is that scene in Rocky, you know, the Rocky movies where, you know, Sylvester Stallone gets his ass whooped for like the first couple of rounds and you're like, oh no, Rocky. And then suddenly, you know, the music starts to swell. Bum, 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 bum. He's like, and he's still going. That's what the Ukis are doing. The Ukis are turning the tide of this war with their incursion into the Kursk region. Now, there's a downside to this, and the downside is that they ain't really taken over from the Russian army. The Russian army is busy doing other things. What they've done is they've taken over land a good 15 miles in to Russia. This is the Ukrainians. These are the people who were invaded, who were getting their asses pounded, and now they're like, yeah, we're going to go to Moscow. We're going to go and we're going to fuck up Moscow. So they've made about a 15-mile incursion into Russia, and they just ripped through the Kursk region defenses. They just ripped through them. Well, they didn't even put up a fight. Why? Because they're Chechens. They're not really Russians. They're just conscripted Chechens who were forced to defend this area. And as soon as they saw the new, how much money did we give them? $6 billion. As soon as they saw the new $6 billion in war toys coming over the horizon, all those Chechens went, you people are on your own. We're out of here. See you later. So that's what's happening there now. Russia is on their back heels, and the people. So the next step here in this plan is not to have to at some point fight the Russian military proper while 50 miles inside Russia. That is not something they want and not going to go well. The hope here now is for uprisings. People, civilian uprisings in different towns as the Yukis come rolling through. That's what they're hoping for. Will it happen? I don't know. But it has been fascinating to watch. That's what's going on in the Ukraine and, well, I guess this is actually going on in Russia. So remember, we used to say this is what's happening in the Ukraine because it was all Russia that was on the offensive. But now we're in that moment where Rocky's like, he's like kind of getting some good licks in. But I'm telling you, you're poking the bear, man. I mean, the full, oh God. You are lucky that Russia is so big because they've got Russian military spread out all over that corner of the globe, and that's what Russia is, an entire corner of the globe. Man, they're going to turn their focus on you guys, and I'm just, woo. But anyway, right now it's fun. Right now it's fun because it's a very Rudy kind of moment. All right, let's see here. What else do we have? Peace deal. We got a big peace deal. Hey, look at this. Look at this. Team Biden going to make peace in the Middle East. That's what he's going for, man. Biden needs this peace deal between Israel and Gaza so badly. Now, this peace deal has nothing to do with what's going on between Israel and Hezbollah and Iran. That's another thing. I don't even know where we are on that one. I don't know. But right now, the ongoing problem between Israel and Gaza, pretty close to being fixed, pretty close to coming up with some kind of solution. Anthony Blinken is back and forth. He's lugging his guitar. Remember when he did that D-bag? That was when Blinken, about 2 months ago, he delivered that big giant Publishers Clearinghouse $6 trillion check or whatever it is that we gave Ukraine. He delivered that big giant check to Zelensky in Ukraine. And then he went and played some open mic nights. He did. That's not a joke. I wish I could say that that's a joke about this. No, he was in Ukraine and he had his guitar and he was up on stage and he sang Rockin' in the Free World. And it's just so non-professional, so stupid. But hey, we'll forget that if they fix the Middle East, which is what they're promising to do. We shall see. We live in a world where I was just thinking about that. I'm like, we live in a world where if peace was brought to the Middle East and it was done by Biden, half of you would be like, fuck that, fuck. People are so, that's where we live. We live in that place. And I'm not saying that if it was reversed, if it was a MAGA administration in there and they fixed it, that liberals wouldn't be like, we got a problem. Probably, but I don't know if it's quite to the extent. First of all, they wouldn't fix it. They would just, go to war and take the land and the oil, which is something a lot of people support. And that's one way of looking at it. Maybe that's how we do it. But the other side is the side that's like, no, come on, guys. The liberals, no, come on, guys. Let's all just fix this. You guys can be in the same room together. All right. They still have hope for that. I don't know. Anyway, let's see here. What else do we have? That's what's going on over there. Peace deal. At any moment, they promise. I don't know if that's true. All right, let's talk about the DNC, the Dermatologist National Convention. It's going on in Chicago this week, my hometown. Hey, Southside. I wanted to go to this thing. And we were going to actually make some. It wouldn't be hard. It would not be hard to go. And there was a plan. You want to go? We should go. We should just go. Come on, let's go. We'll get the tickets. Well, you'll get the tickets. Well, let's go. We can go. So we were actually going to do that. And then Kelly went and died. Good job. So we just kind of lost track of even thinking about doing that. No, it was a plan. We were going to go in a car. We were going to drive up there. Anyway, I'm going to stay at the Tinley Park Hilton. Because we were going to go with 4 people, and they can't all stay at my mom's house. That wouldn't work. Then Kelly had to go and die. Anyway, the DNC is happening this week. What a difference a couple of months have made. I was just thinking, Do you remember when Trump got shot in the head or ear or whatever we're calling it? Remember when that happened? I remember like when he got shot, and it was just before the Republican National Convention. When he got shot and he jumped up and he was like a little bit, he didn't know where he was dazed, and rightfully so, man. Someone just shot at him, but he's like, bah, bah, and then his first instinct was to go, that whole thing, that, man, I saw that happen and I went, fuck, these libs are cooked. They are cooked. Ain't no way. And then they roll into the convention, and the convention is just like balls nuts. Hulk Hogan, Scott Baio, Pauly Shore. I don't know Pauly Shore, but you know what I mean? Like that kind of thing. It's like, and the rest of America who is not bamboozled by this whole MAGA thing, and I include myself in that, we're sitting here watching this going, is this a political convention, or is this like, so you think you have talent? I don't know what we're watching here. But Big Mo was decidedly on that team, man. They were rolling. Trump took 2 weeks off after that. He stopped campaigning because it was like, Biden's going to get his ass kicked. And we all knew Biden was going to get his ass kicked. And then they flipped the script. Harris is now the lead candidate. There is new momentum on the Democratic side. I was talking to a friend of mine whose wife is, how do I say this without actually having to tie her to it? Let's put it this way. She has some influence with the Chicago Board of Tourism, okay? And he was telling me, he reached out to me because of the Kelly situation, and he was telling me, I said, so what's it going to be like? Because he lives downtown. I go, what's it going to be like for the convention? And he's like, oh, Jesus, almost just said her name. I don't want to do that. But he was telling me, like, some of the things that the Chicago Board of Tourism thinks, but most notably what he said was, the last 2 weeks have been absolutely insane. They had the convention locked with Biden. And coming out of the Republican National Convention, they were all like, well, this is going to be, congratulations. We've just spent the last year of our life working on the most forgettable and insignificant Democratic convention of all time because the Republicans are going to absolutely kick our ass. That was the attitude. And then 2 weeks ago, or whenever this whole thing started, he's like, man, she's been busy. They've been staying at the office. She's been sleeping. And I'm like, no, she's not. She's cheating on you. And he's like, stop doing that. And I'm like, well, this is what I do. I fuck with you. And he's like, no, seriously, dude. They are really, really preparing for what they think could be one of the most significant American political conventions in years. Why? Not because of, the candidates necessarily, but because of all of the stuff that is going on in this country at this moment and globally. And the idea that suddenly young voters who tend to be the most vocal and the most energized and the most protesty, if you will, young voters are energized. And quite frankly, Chicago in August is probably the best place in the country. It's gorgeous. It is just going to be sunny and big white billowy Simpsons clouds. And there's going to be a breeze coming off the lake and it's going to be like 85. It's just... So they're expecting big things, big protests, the National Guard, I think, is there. And honestly, 2 weeks ago, it was just this is going to be a shit show. We're going to get in, we're going to get out, and we're going to hope that the next time we do a convention, we'll have somebody who can actually play the game because Biden can't. So it's going to be a big deal. It's going to be a really big deal. One of the things that's going to bother me about this, though, because it's always been my favorite part of the convention, I love it. How can you not love America and love the convention roll call? Whether it's, it doesn't matter what convention you're seeing it. They all used to do it. Trump hadn't done it in since 2016. He didn't do it in 2020. He didn't do it this year. The convention roll call. It was supposed to be the entire purpose of the convention, to have the lead delegate, the chief delegate of each state, say, the great state of Mississippi, with all 25 of its delegate votes, cast them proudly for the person representing the state gets to do this big speech about their state. We here are proud of Brett Favre and his attempt to steal money from the poor black children of our impoverished state, that kind of thing. The great people of Mississippi, we love our mud bugs and so that was always my favorite part of the convention. They're going to do it. Yeah. The Democrats are going to do it. It's strictly going to be performative, and it's only a formality now because apparently that's all done online now. They do that online like a week before or 2 weeks before the convention. And all the chief delegates officially, make it official, which is why we'll never have floor fights again, which suck, because that's what I was hoping for. But I didn't know about that. Didn't know about that till I read it. But the Dems are going to do it. They're going to do the whole performative thing. We're going to see the people from the states. And I think that's good, man. You're going to sit there. It's like when you watch the opening parade of athletes at the Olympics. Yeah, you'll sit there and you'll watch all these other countries, but you're really just waiting for your country. And in our case, that means we get to see it all because for some reason we're listed as the United States and not America. It'd be much better for us in our time if we were just America. And we were like, second after Albania. It's like, here comes Albania, and it's America. And then we come out, we're like, cool, we can go to bed now. But no, we're the United States of America, so we have to wait till the U's. We're after Yugoslavia, for fuck's sake. Anyway, that's what the roll call is like. You'll sit there, I'm Illinois. I was always able. Texas, we suck here in Texas. You got to wait a long time for that. Got to hear a lot of bullshit about Iowa, Maine. You got to hear a whole bunch of stuff. Illinois was pretty good, kind of in the middle. By the time you get to the I's, you're ready to be done. So that always worked out well for me. The great state of Illinois, home to Abraham Lincoln, Ronald Reagan, and Barack Obama. That kind of stuff. Yeah, Ronald Reagan. People don't know that. Ronald Reagan grew up in Illinois. He's an Illinois kid. How dare you? His first job, as soon as he could get out of that stupid little hick town he was from, he went to Chicago. We claim him. We can claim Reagan. He was a Cubs broadcaster, for fuck's sake. Need something to drink. A lot of celebrities too. Here's a story. This is one. Now we're not doing the compare thing because that would be unfair to compare Hulk Hogan to, I don't know, some big giant lizard people, Hollywood pedophile superstars that are coming out of the woodwork to support this first pretending to be African American, but is really a Southeast Asian he-she. That's what they're all going to come out. So I know that's the comparison. Gee, Pugs, all of that. Yeah, that's what they're doing there. Or you could have Kid Rock. Which do you want? I'm telling you, I'm taking the craziness. Taking Chappell Ronan. Is that a dude or not? Do we know? I don't know if you're the people for me to be talking about Chappell Ronan, because I don't know who this person is, but apparently they're like the biggest star in the world right now, and I don't even know what sex they are, which is probably Chappell Ronan's entire point, that we shouldn't be upset. But I need to know because I was born in the 60s, and quite frankly, I need to compartmentalize things like that. Is that a boy or a girl? It really makes me nervous if I don't know. All right, convention star power. Let's see what this is. Hold on. Here's the big story. Now, I had a friend a couple of weeks ago. I told this story. I had a friend who works now. We're putting together a bunch of shows, and a bunch of people are helping us do things. And I have a friend who does a podcast. Why do I feel the need I must justify this stuff to you? Anyway, I was talking to my friend. They work in the mayor's office or adjacent. They have duties that intertwine with the mayor's office down in Houston, and they were telling me that there was a planned Taylor Swift and Beyonce concert that was supposed to be a surprise, and it was supposed to go off. It was supposed to be a Beyonce, Taylor Swift, Biden rally in Texas, in Houston, and it was supposed to be on. It would have been last Friday. It would have been the Friday past is when it would have been. So that did not happen. But we still got chatter of a Beyonce Taylor Swift team up. And could that team up actually occur now instead at the Democratic National Convention in Chicago this weekend? Let's see. CNN reports.
New details for you this morning about which A-list celebrities are planning to be at the Democratic National Convention here in Chicago, where we are, as the party formally crowns Kamala Harris as its nominee. Rumors are swirling. Big time. Everybody's talking about it. That two of the biggest names in music, Beyonce and Taylor Swift.
Is that of of the biggest names or the two biggest names?
I think
Can I just say here is another example where I broke something, and I didn't brag. I got the location and the thing wrong. But what I did break 2 weeks ago on my Facebook page, follow me, Pugs Moran, and Twitter, Pugs Moran. Just Google Pugs Moran and follow. I said 2 weeks ago this was happening. I said there's going to be a team up. They're planning a team up between two of the two biggest, most influential cultural pop stars of our time who have not ever teamed up before. They have not even ever been on the same stage at the same time. They were famously pitted against each other by Kanye West when he stormed the stage and said, "No offense to you, Taylor, but Beyonce deserves this." That is what these, I don't know, the people who are into this scene at this moment, like Lacey, my friend Lacey G. I love Lacey. She is way too into the whole Taylor Swift cultural movement of the day. But this is what those people have been waiting for. Will Taylor Swift and Beyonce do something? Will they meet? Will they do? Anyway, that's what we're talking about. And I broke it. And now here we are 3 weeks later, and they're going, "Hey, did you hear? Could you imagine if they teamed up?" I'm like, yeah, I said it weeks ago.
The two biggest names.
Okay.
We don't have to parse it. Beyonce, Taylor Swift might make appearances.
Might. All right. CNN's Elizabeth Wagmeister is with us this morning. That was the might. How about the will? Who do we know that will be here?
By the way, I'm with you, John. They are the two biggest names. Of course, all eyes are on whether they will come, but who we do know will be there. Some new exclusive reporting that I got in overnight. There are going to be 4 celebrity hosts that are emceeing each night of the convention. Kicking off tonight is going to be Tony Goldwyn, who, of course, starred as the president on Scandal, but is very politically active in his real life. Then Ana Navarro is going to be hosting tomorrow.
All right, let's look at these people. Not impressed. Not quite frankly, I don't see a Kid Rock in the group. I don't know that anybody here is. Well, but then again, that's me. I'm a middle-aged white dude. And let's be honest, Kid Rock is only famous because of his, association with MAGA lately. So maybe that's fake. Maybe I shouldn't say that. Tony Goldwyn, he's an actor of no real significance other than the fact that he's got huge money because, yes, his name is Goldwyn and his family built Hollywood as a part of it. He's the G in the MGM, MGM. He's the G. Goldwyn, that's his grandpa. So I guess that's, big Hollywood money there. And he dabbles as an actress. That's unfair. He's a good actor. He's pretty cool. Tony Goldwyn's pretty cool. So that's Monday. These are the hosts. Tomorrow night, the host will be Ana Navarro. I remember when this broad was like a right-wing Republican Latino chick from South Florida. That's where she came from. And then, she turns, she hates Trump. And now all of a sudden she's like super liberal lady. You can't just hate Trump and then change everything about your principles that you've stated on TV for the past 10 years. Ana Navarro lost a whole bunch of weight and turned into a liberal because of Donald Trump. And now she's hosting the DNC on Tuesday night. Mindy Kaling on Wednesday. I love me some Mindy Kaling. What can I say about Mindy Kaling? I don't know. Whatever. Then you got Thursday night. Thursday night is the big night, so they pull out the big guns. This is a big gun. Kerry Washington is a massive gun. She is the biggest star on this thing. Not to me. I'm a middle-aged white guy who's never seen any of those Shonda Rhimes shows. But there are a lot of people in America who love that whole Shonda Rhimes, Chandra, I don't know, her whole universe of TV shows, of which Kerry Washington is like the star or like a big Scandal. Is that what she's from? Scandal? Is that it? So that's a big one because, again, we're talking about who they appeal to. Like, who does Kerry Washington appeal to? Kerry Washington appeals to a 40-year-old black woman. That's what they're going with. Now, none of these people are A-list. None of them. Kerry Washington comes closest because she was, especially 3-4 years ago when she's winning all these Emmys and she's this, that, and the other thing, the biggest star on TV. So that's close to A-list, but none of the other ones are. But again, these are just the hosts. See, these are the people who will be coming out on stage, not giving their endorsements, although their mere presence would suggest an endorsement. But these are the people that are going to be keeping the shows or the nights going. So whatever, but not really impressed. I dig Kaling. Kerry Washington's hot, but that's about it.
Tomorrow night, Mindy Kaling on Wednesday and Kerry Washington on Thursday. Now, convention officials tell me that the role of these hosts is going to be similar to something at the Oscars, like an award show. They'll come on, they'll make an introduction, and then they'll reappear throughout the night to help guide the audience through programming. Now, aside from these 4 celebrity hosts, I also hear that there are going to be some other A-list speakers yet to be announced, and also all eyes are on who is going to perform. I do hear that there is going to be at least one performance tonight, and that should be announced shortly. Also, a lot of parties happening in Chicago, and of course, Hollywood is very excited.
All right, you know what? We don't need just to do a whole commercial for that. What do we do? There's going to be somebody performing on TV, on national TV tonight, and you don't have the name yet? What are they just going like, better be big? That's all I'm saying. Better be a big one. It better not be like, don't try and slide. Who would they be? Don't try and slide in. I don't know. I can't even think of anybody. John Legend, probably. Bring out Cheap Trick. It's Chicago. Bring out Cheap Trick. That'd be cool. That'll counter the Kid Rock's. Did Kid Rock play at the Republican National Convention? I don't know. Whatever. It's going to be fun, and it all starts tonight. There you go. The Democratic National Convention. There's going to be star power. Will Taylor and Beyonce appear together. We will see. Maybe not, though, if you believe the former president of the United States, Donald Trump, because Donald Trump is out there in these streets claiming that Taylor Swift has endorsed him. You guys, what's wrong with you? What is wrong with you? All right, so here's the story. Trump posts AI photos of Swifties for Trump 1 week after falsely blasting Kamala Harris for faking crowds with AI. So here's the thing. This is projection. This is total projection. He would absolutely have no problem. He looked at her crowds and he went, boy, how do we make our crowds look bigger? And he thought to himself, what if we use that AI thing? Or somebody said that. And then they didn't use the AI thing yet at Trump rally. But then the next time he looked at her, he went, hey, you can do AI. He just learned that. He's like, oh, you can do AI and make fake pictures. So he went out and he said, this is fake. It's AI. And now here we are a week later and his team's like, hey, we're ready to do the fake AI. That's called projection. When you know you're doing something that you don't want people to know about, you distract by putting it on someone else. I'm not gay, you're gay, like that thing. You're projecting. He projects endlessly. And you people just don't seem to care. You don't seem to give a fuck about it. And this is just what... I don't have one goddamn problem with this guy's politics. I don't even know his politics because I can't listen to his platform because I can't get past the fact that he's a fucking asshole. And I don't know how you guys can. Anyway, here we go. These are these fake pictures that he put out there claiming that Taylor Swift's fans are now all supporting him. Why? Because he's desperate. Because he needs to desperately convey some idea that something good is happening for him in his campaign, and it's not. So he's doing this bullshit. Look at this. These are all fake pictures. These are all fake pictures that the former president of the United States put out there, knowing full well that they're fake. And if he doesn't, then he's just fucking stupid. And that's another reason for you people to really go, maybe we shouldn't vote for him. It's too late now, man. You guys have saddled yourself to something. Former president, let's see, what did he put here? Oh, I accept. Okay, so that's what he put. So he shared those fake pictures of some pretend organization called Swifties for Trump, and he shared it as I accept, like it's an actual endorsement. Why? Because he wants people to think, people who are, worried, MAGA people who are concerned. I'm talking about fans, I'm talking about voters. He wants them to think that they are still on the side of something that is cool and that is winners and that they're not losers. So he's manufacturing this stuff. He's not interested in giving you the truth. He's interested in self-aggrandizement. And this lie, which again, either he knows it's a lie and he's just comfortable putting it out there because that's how sensitive his ego is, or he's too dumb to know that this is obviously fake. That's my problem with him. Again, I don't give a shit about kids in cages or fucking wall stuff. This policy. I can't even get to that stuff. I don't even know I can't get past the idea that this guy is so obviously just running a fucking 3-card Monte game on half the country, and most of them are going, that's so crazy how he did that. Where'd the ball go? Fuck, people. Spot a con. Spot a salesman. And again, your grandparents would be ashamed of you. Goddamn grandparents who used to live in these rural towns in America, and that big city slicker would roll in. Hey, folks, have I got a deal for you? Straight from New York City. That guy took advantage of people in the 1800s, and now we got another one right here, a medicine show man coming to town to fucking Bandu. I can't. Fucking Swifties for Trump. You think a bunch of 19-year-old girls who eat, sleep, and breathe everything that idiot Taylor Swift does are going to simply go, well, we actually do believe in this border policy. They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They're doing whatever Taylor Swift wants. And it's not the first time that we've had this. It's the second time in my lifetime that I've seen something like this. I've seen a single individual be so incredibly powerful, at least as far as the inclinations and thoughts of America's female population. That's what Taylor Swift is now. Taylor Swift is like the North Star for every American female. What does Taylor think? That used to be Oprah. And I remember back in the 90s seeing this phenomenon with Oprah going, holy fuck, why is everybody listening to her? I may not understand it, but it can't be denied. And it is a powerful thing. It is a very powerful thing. So anyway, there you have it. Donald Trump out here pretending like Taylor Swift and her fans are all supporting him. And it's just so ugly and it's so desperate, but it's shameful. I was explaining this to some, I don't want to get into it. Because we need, I think, to draw a distinction between shame and guilt. Shame and guilt are two completely different things. Like, Trump is just shameless. He just operates in this shame zone where he doesn't. What is shame? Shame is the personal accounting for your misdeeds. Shame is what you feel because you've done something that is against the grain as far as what's socially acceptable. That's what shame is. Guilt is shame plus the understanding of what your actions have done to others. That's the difference between shame and guilt. He doesn't have guilt. He doesn't give a fuck whether his lies mislead people. He's working in the shame zone, and he has none. Again, shame, your own personal processing of what you've done. Guilt, that plus you understanding what your actions have done to others. Difference between shame and guilt. All right, what else do we have here? How about Matthew Perry? He liked drugs, huh? Holy shit. Have you seen these details that are coming out about Matthew Perry? Now, last week when we were in the throes of our mourning for Kelly Moore, a whole bunch of big news happened with Matthew Perry. Matthew Perry, the star of Friends, he died last year, was found in his hot tub floating, took too much ketamine. He overdosed on ketamine, which I'm not even sure I know what ketamine is. Isn't that like the roofie drug? Forgive me, I'm not up on my date rape drugs. Never were. It's like not something that... Remember the days of Spanish fly? That was a thing. That was a thing you always heard about when I was like a kid. Spanish fly? I don't even know what that is. But anyway, ketamine is a drug, and Matthew Perry, who was, if you remember Matthew Perry the last 20 years, every time you saw him, and you didn't see him much, but when you did see him, he was always being heralded for his great accomplishment of cleaning himself up and stopping his drug addiction that destroyed, his career in the early parts of the 2000s and late 90s. And look at Matthew Perry. He's back. No, that was a lie. That was all a big Hollywood lie. He was a huge junkie and apparently was a massive junkie consistently. He never got clean. He just, for work purposes, needed people to think that he was clean. What were we saying about shame and guilt? Right. No shame there. Just whatever gets me another acting job. Jesus, did this guy like ketamine? That was his drug of choice. He had a houseboy and a live-in houseboy that used to inject him. 3 people, right? 3 people, well, 4 people total, but one of them is totally going to walk because they're working. A couple of doctors, and apparently this lady who they call the ketamine queen of Hollywood, she has also been arrested, which is interesting because the ketamine queen of Hollywood is said to provide these drugs to all of Hollywood. And it looks like they are going to come hard on her with these charges in the death of Matthew Perry for providing the ketamine to doctors who then prescribed them. These 2 doctors were talking to each other. They have text messages of this. Fucking doctors, right? They've got a guy, Hippocratic oath, do no harm. These fucking doctors had this celebrity junkie, and instead of trying to help him, they were just compounding the problem by making these drugs available to him. These 2 doctors were talking to each other via text, and one of them said, let's see how much this moron is willing to pay. That's a doctor. Fuck that guy. Anyway, he was getting this shit from the ketamine queen, and she's got stuff on everybody in Hollywood, so developing ... See what kind of deal she's going to make to get out of going to jail. She's going to, holy cow. I mean, we're going to find out how many of these people there are. Let's see. Here's a story. CEOs. Oh, Jesus. All right. So, I like to do this. Anyway, let's see here. S&P 500 CEOs made, what's this? Hold on. How much? This is that. Compared to like the people who work for them. CEOs made 268 times what the typical worker made last year. All right, very good. Gas is still expensive. Food is going nuts, but that's okay. 268 times what the average worker is what the CEO is pulling down. I don't give a fuck about that. You know my thoughts about these people, about how they have no interest in supporting or helping a middle class, a working class America survive. It's all about really poor people and then the super rich elite who are going to live in these glass towers, Dubai style. We're going full Hunger Games, man, here in the next 20 years with the separation of money in this country, the power bases, all of that shit. This is just another indication. You hear that CEOs are making 268 times what a typical worker makes, and your programming goes, well, that's the American dream. No, it's not. No, it's not. That's highway robbery. That's a system that does not allow an equal and fair field for all. The kind of shit that our founding fathers wanted. The stock market, don't know if you saw that. Remember a couple of weeks ago when we were tanking? And I said, don't worry. I mean, we're tanking from 40. We were at 40,000. Now we're down to like 36. And oh yeah, huge drop in the stock market a couple of weeks ago. And what did I tell you? None of the rich guys lost money. You know who lost money? The people who got wiped out on that day. You know who lost money? The people who had their pensions and their savings and all of this shit. Us, the rubes, the rank and file who play the stock market. That's who got wiped out on that day when we dropped over 1,000 points. And I told you that. I told you the rich people were going to be fine because they can hang and bang. Those rich people, all they lost was a little bit of their own humility when they looked at their bottom line on that day and said, oh, geez, look, I seem to have lost 4.5% of my worth. You know what everybody else lost? How they're going to eat at 80 years old. Okay, that's how this stock market is set up now. The super rich who control it all, they can weather these adjustments and they'll be just fine. But it's those of us who are buying into this dream that we can make fast money quick with the stock market. Believe in America. They rely on us. Those rich people rely on our little pennies here and there. That's the shit that they're allowed to lose. That's the shit that gets taken off the board first. Now, why do I say this? I say this because in those 2 weeks since it went down 1,000 points and so many of our grandmothers lost their money, since that point, the stock market has rallied for those who were able to stick in and hang in. It's rallied now and it's approached over 40 again. And we are approaching a record number for the stock market once again. So if you're a billionaire and you can hang and bang and you can live through the adjustments, you are going to ultimately double your wealth. But if you're a retired school teacher whose pension fund is put into all these bullshit things, you might have a little bit of difficulty. You might have to change old folks' homes. You might have to go down to the cheaper one now. And yes, CEOs are making 268 times what a typical worker makes. All right, let's see. What else do we have here? Here's a story. This is a story about a trend that we're seeing more and more of. And I have a friend who is 52 years old. And they just had their first child, a lovely daughter named Lindsay. He's 52. He just had his first child. And that sort of bolsters this story here. Men are waiting till their 50s to have their first child. It says here, since men don't have the same biological clocks that women have, a new study has found that many are waiting longer and longer to start a family. Some waiting until their 50s before fathering their first child. Despite being able to have children, researchers at Stanford University say this growing trend is raising new concerns about the child's health and their future. All right, we don't need to get into this, but that's basically it. There's no more men are waiting to 50 years old to have their child. I would say, well, here is the first thing. Here's the upside, okay? Can I just share with you the upside? The upside of men in their 50s having their first child is that a man in his 50s who is having his first child is probably having this first child with somebody in their late 20s. That means this 50-year-old guy has got himself a very beautiful, young, breeding age woman, right? So we're obviously, these men waiting to have their first child in their 50s are probably not, for the most part, having these children with women of the same age. So younger, so there you go. These are men getting hot younger girls and then knocking them up. So that's one thing. I guess that's the good news. The bad news is, and I can share this with you. I waited till I was 39. Okay, so we're talking about my friend was 52. So that's 13 years longer. I waited till I was 39 before having my first kid. And that, at the time, that was like a real long time. Really? You waited this long? Excuse me. But, as my kid grew, like, the fear is, well, I want to be able to play with my kid. Fuck that. I can't play with my kid. I can't. My kid is 15 years old. I can't play with my kid. My kid will break me in half. He doesn't know how to, play with an old man. And I'm not even an old man, is the thing. I mean, I can still do things. I can run up and down steps, right? I can throw a football around, and I can even run a couple of patterns. I'm not a complete invalid. But holy shit, man, I could only imagine if at my age right now, if at my age in my 50s, if I now had a toddler. And not because, it would be difficult now with a toddler. That'd probably be fun. Toddlers are fun. Go to find a McDonald's with a indoor playground and just let them hang out there for an hour and then come back, I'm kidding. You don't leave the kid. You sit there. That's fun. But if you're 50, let's say you're 52 and you've got a baby now, that baby's going to be, well, this is Lindsay. It's a girl, so it's going to be different. But if it was a boy, you're going to be 65 when he's 15 and he's the pitcher on the baseball team and he's working on a fastball. You're going to be 65 years old. No. So I don't know, man. I understand why people are waiting till they're longer, but 50 is really, I mean, I know that people are living now to 100. So I don't know, whatever. 50 seems awful old, especially since me, I do this math in my head all the time. Okay, how old is he going to be? When I'm 70, how old will he be? Will I be able to see grandchildren? Am I going to get grandchildren? I better get grandchildren. He better knock someone up in high school because I want grandchildren. You start thinking like that when you're an older parent. But geez, I was 39 when I had my first. And I think that's old. 50s? No, thank you. Let's see here. What else do we have? Adam says, I'm 44 and have a hellion 3-year-old toddler. Can't imagine more years on that. Yeah, I know. And I think if you're a man, if you're a dad, actually, I just think across the board, a father or a mother, I think maybe it's easier if you have daughters. I think daughters are easier. I think they are. Because a daughter is never going to you know what a daughter isn't going to do to his 55-year-old dad? A daughter isn't going to jump out from behind a corner and try and double leg take you down on a carpeted hallway. A daughter isn't going to do that. My 15-year-old does shit like that. My 15-year-old does like ninja shit where he jumps out, And I'm like, dude, you can't do that. You're going to have a heart attack. Daughter's not going to do that. So I think maybe you're better off if you have daughters. The boys are just trouble. Oh, because the boys, at some point, the boy is going to recognize that dad is a little bit decrepit. And so that'll probably happen when the boy has, ingested a 12-pack of beer and has come home late and is now taking his shirt off on the front lawn because he's going to kick dad's ass. You don't want to be that guy in the neighborhood. And if you are that guy in the neighborhood, you want to be able to whip your kid's ass. So that means make sure he's 15 when you're like 38. But just no. It's no way. I'd have to shoot him. I would have to kill him. I would have to put him down, blow his kneecap off, something. I couldn't stop. If my son wanted to kick my ass at this age, couldn't stop him. That's why I got to play head games with him. It's like it's like lion taming, I think. I think having a 15-year-old who could kick your ass is a lot like being a lion tamer. You got to play the mental games with them. You got to make sure, the lion knows that the lion will never get food again if, it does these. That's kind of part of it. You got to mentally get inside your kid's head and fuck with them if they think that they're going to beat you. Yeah, that's all you got. So I've been working on that aspect of it for about 6 years. I like to think that on some level I completely own him. I'm completely in my son's head. But it doesn't stop the fact that he could totally kick my ass. All right, what else do we have? Let's move on to this. I'm going to spend a little time talking about this. I'm going to wax poetic, if you will. This is somebody who I really like a whole lot. And they died today. And of course, we're talking about television icon Phil Donahue. Phil Donahue. He died 88 years old. He'd been sick for a long time. Died in his nice New York City apartment surrounded by his lovely wife, Marlo Thomas, that girl, which is so cool. He got to marry that girl. She was so cute. But he married her when she was 40, which is also good. Because she was Marlo Thomas. She was a hot one. Did you ever watch that girl? Did you guys ever see that girl? That girl was a TV show in the 60s, and it was in national syndication throughout the 70s. So as little kids growing up in the 1970s, you saw episodes of that girl. Usually, what was that girl always packaged with? I don't know. Anyway, because, you always think of the shows that get packaged. Beverly Hillbillies and Green Acres and, Little Rascals and Three Stooges. I don't know. Was that girl packaged? Maybe Get Smart. Seemed like maybe that would be a package. Anyway, Marlo Thomas was the star of that girl. She was Danny Thomas's daughter. Marlo Thomas was cute. Cute. She became like an it girl. What's an it girl? Well, see, Sydney Sweeney. Sydney Sweeney is a current it girl. And Phil Donahue got that. Phil Donahue was a TV show host. He was originally from Cleveland, Ohio. He did a daytime talk show. Now he did let's be honest, he did the first of its kind daytime talk show. Phil Donahue would have housewives on and he'd talk about how they've never had an orgasm in 1975 or whenever. I think this is probably even the 1960s. He invented daytime talk. He invented what would become those insane days of Jerry Springer, Ricky Lake, Richard Bay, all of that shit. Remember? Who else do we have? Jenny Jones, Jesse Raphael, all of that stuff that would follow all began with Phil Donahue. He was the first guy to do that kind of thing. Now, Phil Donahue did it differently. Phil Donahue didn't do what Jerry Springer did, although weirdly enough, they looked very similar. Phil Donahue did more of the kind of a show that Oprah would inherit. Oprah is seen as the heir apparent to what Donahue was doing now. Oprah's success created lesser hack spinoffs, the Jerry Joneses and the Jenny Joneses and the Ricky Lakes and all of that shit. But anyway, ground zero for all this was Phil Donahue. Phil Donahue was a pioneer, a true pioneer of conversation talk. Big, crazy, provocative issues handled by a guy who wasn't being just needlessly exploitative of the issue. It was really an interesting show. If you were watching Donahue in 1977, you were probably learning something, and you were seeing people, and oftentimes people from completely different points of view. You would see them get into it on certain provocative issues, and it didn't devolve into, name calling and awful shit, Geraldo throwing chairs, Jerry Springer show, people fighting. I mean, Phil Donahue was a way, he showed us and had demonstrated for years a way to have an argument with somebody by using discipline, courtesy, and respect. Yeah, you'd be like, oh, that guy's a dick, I don't like him. But nobody ever thought that someone was going to throw a punch on the Phil Donahue show. Let me show you an example of the Phil Donahue show. I love this. This is pretty cool. I found this, and I'm showing you this because I remember watching this. I saw this. This is the first time that I had ever heard of something called Marilyn Manson. Remember Marilyn Manson? This is like a couple of years before Marilyn Manson became famous. This is like when he was just doing this kind of music that had parents freaked out. So they went on Phil Donahue, and Phil Donahue, introduced these scary ass people to America's moms. Also, I want to say this about Phil Donahue. Back when I was working with the amazing Jansen Ray, shout out to my boy Jansen. He's awesome. Over at Deep Ellum on air. We spent a day. We spent a day with Phil Donahue. He came in studio. He hung out with us all day. It was the occasion of they were opening the Bush Library over there on the campus of SMU, the George Bush Presidential Library. A whole bunch of people came in. We happened to have a really close location in a house there that we were doing the shows from at that time. And Phil Donahue came and he sat down, and he was just a lovely man. It was a real thrill for me as Phil Donahue, and as I said, Steve Dahl on radio and Tom Schneider. They informed the way that I do these kinds of interviews, the way I talk to people, the performative nature of the way I do this and that. Very Phil Donahue. And I got a chance to tell him, and he's like, stop it. Anyway, he was a cool guy, and I really do like him. And I want to show you this. This is from 1995, I believe. Marilyn Manson going on the Phil Donahue show. Let's see, just to get an idea of what this guy was all about.
They are Marilyn Manson, Twiggy Ramirez, and Madonna Wayne Gacy. And you call yourselves, you're Marilyn Manson because?
Because that's my name.
Twiggy? And Madonna Wayne Gacy?
Yes.
You're not going to help us understand the...
Oh, you want to understand where the name came from? I've always watched talk shows. I haven't got to watch yours very often, though. I watch more of the trashier ones, but I found that Marilyn Monroe and Charles Manson, about 5 years ago, when I thought of this, were the two most memorable people from the 60s. And I thought it was interesting that things like talk shows put them on the same kind of celebrity status. And I thought that dichotomy of positive and negative, putting those two names together, represented what I had to say and what I was about.
You wanted that.
First of all, holy shit. Well done. What's the name? Brian Warner. Well done, Brian Warner, in his role as Marilyn Manson. That was a really good answer. That was a really good, thoughtful answer.
First of all, I want to say how sorry I am for the parents. And second of all, to the young people, I think it's probably a wonderful way to feel involved and to be part of something. And dancing is a wonderful way to get out your frustration. The only problem I have is the hurting. I'm sure that there's a much better way to get out your energy than hurting other people.
All right, what they're talking about here is this is the whole youth scene of the early 90s, early to mid 90s. This woman is like, I don't understand why the dancing you have to hurt each other. She's talking about a mosh pit. I mean, mosh pits are still around. They were started by, Gen X and the Seattle scene, grunge music and all that. She just doesn't understand a mosh pit, and she thinks it's just like a gang fight to music. And so they're going to try and explain a mosh pit to this woman.
You don't go out. In response to that, you don't go out intentionally to hurt anybody. If somebody gets hurt in the process, then so be it. That just comes with the territory. But you don't actually go into the pit and say, yeah, well, look at that guy. Maybe I'm going to go bust his nose. That's not how it works. That's not how it happens.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's random. Exactly. You're not at anybody. You're just getting out what's inside you.
Right. Exactly.
You're not aiming at anybody in particular.
Yes. Mr. Manson, may I call you Mr. Manson?
Sure.
From Seconds Magazine, you're quoted as saying, you have to take responsibility. You reap what you sow, and you have to clean up after yourself. I'm sick of people always trying to blame movies, bands, songs, or talk shows for whatever. Teen suicides, drug overdoses, everything else. If someone's stupid enough to kill themselves because of a song, then that's exactly what they deserve. They weren't contributing anything to society. It's one less effing idiot in the world. There's too many people. If more people killed themselves over music, it wouldn't disappoint me. It would disappoint me in that it's sad that people are that stupid.
Exactly.
Okay, let me just say something. That's the magic of Brian Warner as his character, Marilyn Manson. That dude said some things that, like, that's pretty provocative. That what Phil Donahue just read. It's pretty provocative, and it lacks compassion. And, you know, for someone who's struggling and why they would take their own life. But man, it is also pretty dead on. I don't know that he's wrong there. And people in 1994, they did not want to go that way because the programming said, oh, it's such a shame that they killed themselves. Well, look, I've got depression. You know, I've been up and down that road, and I feel like I've pretty much got it under control, so nobody's got to worry about me. But make no mistake, it is a failure on the part of the individual. It is the mark of a loser to go that far. Now, it's not something that lacks sincerity. I do think that act, the act of suicide, is one of the most sincere acts that someone could ever do in life. It's the singular most important act to be able to pull that trigger, understanding the repercussions. It's sincere. Nobody's pretending. Nobody's like, I just want to scare people. Here, let me pull this trigger. No, there's sincerity in the moment you pull that trigger. It's genuine. It doesn't mean you're not a loser. It doesn't mean that you're not just giving up and, you know, saying to the people that love you, hey, fuck off. I'm more important than you. And he said that. And that's kind of heavy, hard to take. Phil Donahue was a really interesting show. The guests it was never stupid. It was never like they didn't have a guest on just because, well, people are going to freak out when they hear about this. No, it was always interesting topics that were contemporary and relevant. I do want to show you this, though. Back to Saturday Night Live. Saturday Night Live had a couple of different people over the years who played Phil Donahue. Phil Hartman was one of the great ones. Phil Hartman used to do full-on Donahue sketches where he was in the audience and all that. And he was very funny, but he wasn't the best Phil Donahue. The best Phil Donahue on Saturday Night Live, in my opinion, and I asked Phil Donahue about this when I was interviewing him. I said, who did you best? And he said, Daryl Hammond did me better than anyone else. Daryl Hammond, he loved the Phil Hartman, and Phil Hartman was great, and they actually did something together once. But he said that he was shook when he was watching how Daryl Hammond did Phil Donahue. So let's watch that. This is Phil Donahue's favorite impersonation of himself. This is Daryl Hammond from Saturday Night Live, and it's from back in the days when Norm Macdonald was hosting Weekend Update. The guest on this Norm Macdonald Weekend Update is, of course, Phil Donahue, who passed away today at his home in New York City at the age of 88. Television icon Phil Donahue. Here is his favorite impersonation of himself, Daryl Hammond.
Daytime TV talk shows have come under fire recently, with even former Secretary William Bennett attacking them for their vulgarity and celebration of deviant behavior. Here with a comment now is Phil Donahue. Phil.
Well, it has finally happened. The Sally Jesse Raphael show has replaced Donahue in several major markets, including New York, leaving many of us not a little unconcerned about where we are headed as a society. Joe, average, is sitting there with his beer. He's got his remote control and he's watching Sally Jesse Raphael and Jerry Springer and Richard Bay and Jenny Jones. And I mean Hard Copy and Current Affair and American Gladiators and Charlie's Angels, Bionic Woman, and you know, meanwhile we've got a Republican Congress And the generals in the Pentagon are building B-1 bombers, and flag is flying everywhere. It's the 4th of July, and Mom and Dad and Yankee Doodle. I'm a Yankee Doodle dandy, and God's in his heaven. All is right with the world, and meanwhile, blacks can't register. The Cuban missiles are pointed at our shores, and ketchup is a vegetable.
Well, Phil, I don't think you can blame all that stuff on the Sally Jesse Raphael show.
Norm, you Republicans, you whine more than anyone I have ever seen. I mean, come on. They're up there in their ivory towers with their Cadillacs and riding mowers and your big screen TVs, and you're watching Sally Jesse Raphael. If you cannot stand the heat, my dear good man, get out of the kitchen. Caller, are you there?
Whoa, we're taking calls?
Taking calls? Is the caller there? Hi.
Phil, this is Sally Jesse. I just want you to know that I'm an admirer of yours, and I hope there are no hard feelings.
But, I mean, caller, are you not being more than a little unpatronizing? We started Donahue in Dayton, Ohio in...
I'm sorry, Phil. That's my other line. Hang on.
I hate that call waiting, huh?
It is more than a little annoying.
I'm sorry, Phil. Look, I'm going to have to take this call. Are you going to be there for a while?
No, he won't be here. No.
I guess not.
No, he's got to go.
Well, anyway, keep your chin up.
What a bitch.
Phil Donahue, everybody.
All right. Phil Donahue, he was cool. It was a really interesting man to talk to. Did I post that on the Facebook page or something? I don't know. If you want to check out the Facebook page, I'll post the interview I did with Phil Donahue from a couple hours long. It's really great. He was so cool. He was just such a nice guy to talk. He died. Phil Donahue dead at the age of 88. Let's see here. What else do we have? Anything else that's happening? Yeah. Okay. So let's do this since we're almost out of time here for today's show. Let's talk about Saturday. Speaking of Saturday Night Live, that would have been a natural transition, but I screwed the pooch on that. Saturday Night Live is about to restart again here in a couple of weeks, so they're putting together the new cast. We've lost a number of people from the cast from last season. A couple of people walked away, people who I got to tell you, I don't know who they are. I just almost started going into a little Phil Donahue. I almost started I don't know who the people are. Punky something. I don't know who she is. Punky Brewster is no longer on Saturday Night Live. Who else? The girl, the dude. Oh, see what I did? See what I did there? I said girl and then called it dude. The first gender neutral person on Saturday Night Live. They're no longer on the show. They told both genders, we got nothing for you. We don't know how to. Hey, we still here at Saturday Night Live, we write sketches, based on that old timey idea that there's male characters and female characters. And since you're neither, we really don't know how to write for you. So too soon, maybe? I don't know. Too soon to maybe have a full-time gender neutral cast member on. You would think if they were cool about it, they could play both. But I don't know. Maybe they weren't. Who knows? Maybe that person who happens to be a trailblazer as the first gender neutral cast member of Saturday Night Live, maybe that person just sucks. Apropos of nothing having to do with her biological or genetic makeup. Maybe she just sucks as a performer. That could be. Maybe the first gender neutral person on Saturday Night Live just didn't have the comedic chops. I don't know, but they're gone. And we're not going to miss them because I don't even know their name. One of them, Punky something. The other one, let's just call them Chris. We'll go with Chris. Because calling them Pat would be too obvious. Yeah, remember when Saturday Night Live was totally cool with gender neutrality? Hey, that chick, Pat, what was her name? Is that Molly Shannon? No, it's the other one that I always get confused with Molly Shannon. Pat was a gender neutral character. That was the whole point. That's why it was funny. Back when we could laugh at things we didn't understand. Instead, now when we don't understand something, we can't laugh at it. We have to just yell at people who do laugh at it. That's the only acceptable. Saturday Night Live has had a lot of big name people, a lot of unknowns get cast on Saturday Night Live, and before we know it, they're Eddie Murphy in Beverly Hills Cop, or they're Bill Murray in Ghostbusters, or John Belushi in Animal House, whatever it is. It's always been a thing. Saturday Night Live launches careers. Can I mention in more recent times a guy by the name of Will Ferrell, Adam Sandler, all of these people. That's what Saturday Night Live does. But did you know that you don't need Saturday Night Live to become a very big star? In fact, a lot of people auditioned for Saturday Night Live, and Lorne Michaels said, yeah, no, we don't think you have the talent. We don't think you have what it takes to be a member of Saturday Night Live. So you're just going to have to go move along and make it on your own somewhere else. A lot of people did that. Like this one. Here we go. I've got a list of comedians that ended up not being good enough for Saturday Night Live. Here's the first one, Jennifer Coolidge. American treasure. Jennifer Coolidge, back in her Groundling days. I bet you Lorne Michaels thought she was too hot because she was super. Jennifer Coolidge has been doing high-level sketch comedy and improv comedy at the highest levels since the 1980s, since like Pee-wee's Playhouse days. Jennifer Coolidge was the super hot chick. She was really pretty. She was the massage girl on Seinfeld. Remember the episode of Seinfeld where he was dating the masseuse and he kept wanting a masseuse, but he couldn't get a masseuse from her because that was her job? That's her. That was Jennifer Coolidge. Jennifer Coolidge was really attractive, and that's a reason that she thinks that maybe she didn't get the comedic breaks that she should have. Because now, what do we know about Jennifer Coolidge? She's one of the funniest. She's up there with Catherine O'Hara. She's one of the all-time greats. Jennifer Coolidge. Lorne Michaels was like, nah. Anyway, she didn't make it. How about this one? Look at this. John Mulaney. This is bullshit. John Mulaney did make it. He was one of the top writers. Okay, so he didn't get put on screen to play characters. Maybe he's a shit character actor. He's a very funny guy, and they utilized him properly. I mean, he created John Mulaney. This story is a bit misleading because it's making us think these people who are not involved in the SNL orbit, but could have been had Lorne Michaels had better judgment. But they knew that John Mulaney was great. He was a writer on the show. He created all of Bill Hader's incredible characters and bits. So if you love Bill Hader, it's because they came out of this guy's head. Who was the guy that did the nightlife stuff? You know, the club guy on Weekend Update. It's the hot new club. That's John Mulaney. That character is hysterical. That's John Mulaney. So let's stop pretending he doesn't have anything to do with Saturday Night Live. Tiffany Haddish. Yeah, I can see it. I don't know. I don't get what Tiffany Haddish's whole deal is. What is her deal? Why is she so famous? She seems awful. She really does. Every time I've seen her in an interview, she seems like, oh, that was a bitchy thing to say. She doesn't seem nice. Screw her. I don't like Tiffany Haddish. Mindy Kaling. I don't know. Could she have maybe? This might be a miss. She might have been fantastic. I don't know. Mindy Kaling is terrific in the different characters that I've seen her perform as. But, you know, there's no big stretches there. It's kind of always the same kind of character, right? What else do we? John Goodman. What the hell? Seriously? I'm almost glad that he didn't get on Saturday Night Live, but he probably would have been amazing because over the years he's become sort of a multi-time host. So maybe as a cast member that would have changed something. And I like my John Goodman the way we got him. I like whatever his career path was to becoming America's John Goodman. I'm fine with it. Didn't need Saturday Night Live. Mark Maron. Yeah, he sucks. I mean, he's not going to be good. He's a stand-up comedian. He can't act. Have you ever seen Mark Maron act? I have. He's in that Glow series. He was also in, maybe he can act. Wait a second. Maybe I'm wrong about Mark Maron. This is what a stream of consciousness does to you. You just say whatever bullshit is right there on deck in your head, and then That's quickly followed by, are you sure about that? No, I'm not. I'm not sure Mark Maron is a bad actor. He's got bad vibes. He just seems like like a jerk. Like he would be a dick to be waiting in line with. Kumail Nanjiani. He probably would have been great. He probably would have been really funny because he's pretty great in almost everything that he does. Although, I don't know, like, is he as hot as he was 2 years ago? Like 2 years ago, he was big. They were putting him in Marvel movies and all that stuff. But then, anyway, again, Kumail Nanjiani. It's Italian, don't you know? He auditioned for Saturday Night Live and was told no. Jack McBrayer, of course, would be famously thrust onto the American landscape in 30 Rock as the NBC Rockefeller Plaza page Kenny. Jack McBrayer, very funny. Is he a little bit one note? Right? I mean, can Jack McBrayer play a Lothario? Can Jack McBrayer play a jock in a sketch? Like, how versatile is Jack McBrayer for Saturday Night Live? Because that's what you need. You need somebody who can play all different kinds of roles. Jack McBrayer really does seem to always be Jack McBrayer. And I love him. But yeah, I don't see how that would easily translate to Saturday Night Live. This one. Here you go. Oops, we made a mistake. That's all. Donald Glover? Are you kidding me? So Donald Glover comes out and auditions for Lorne Michaels, and Lorne Michaels goes, I don't see it. Boy, has there ever been a greater indication that you need to retire? You need to retire, and if you need to put Tina Fey in that seat or whatever, there's got to be a new executive producer of Saturday Night Live, because if you whiffed on Donald Glover, oh my God, this guy would have been Eddie Murphy. Donald Glover is so talented that you couldn't stop him anyway, but the fact that he was cast initially on Junior College, what's that show called? Community. He played Troy on Community, which was probably at the time of casting Community, the sitcom, fourth lead, fifth lead, maybe. I mean, depending on how we're classifying Chevy Chase. So he wasn't thought of as much. And throughout the run of Community, his character wasn't really given a whole lot to do, except for when he was. And when he was given something to do, it was typically the most standout scene in the episode. We knew very quickly that Donald Glover was more than they were letting him be on Community, and that became obvious in his show on FX, Atlanta, which is just one of the most, in the first 2 seasons of Atlanta. I admit I got to get caught up on a couple, but the first 2 seasons of Atlanta are some of the most creative, funny, and interesting television situation comedy I've ever seen. Donald Glover is a huge mistake that they didn't get him on Saturday Night Live. I mean, he is as talented as anyone out there. And by the way, Aubrey Plaza? I think she would have been good. I think Aubrey Plaza could have been really good on Saturday Night Live. For a big part of her early career, and I would say that she's in her prime right now, but for a big part of her early career, Aubrey Plaza all played a variation of the character from The Office, but she has since shown that she can do much more. So I think Aubrey Plaza would have been great on Saturday Night Live, but they whiffed on that one as well. Ellie Kemper, same thing. Ellie Kemper probably would have been good. I've seen a whole bunch of her improv stuff, and she does have more range than playing that character that we always associate with Ellie Kemper. She really does have more stretch to her, so she might have been good on Saturday Night Live. Nick Kroll, here's another one. Oops, we made a mistake, that's all. Have you guys ever seen The Kroll Show? Nick Kroll got turned down by Saturday Night Live, walked over to Comedy Central and said, look, they don't want me, but I've got like 24 characters and they're all totally different and they're all fucking hysterical. You want to put it on the air? And they did in The Kroll Show. Don't know if you've ever seen The Kroll Show. It aired maybe 2010 to 2013 or 14 on Comedy Central, back when we used to watch Comedy Central. The Kroll Show is genius. It is absolutely brilliant sketch comedy. Nick Kroll would have been a monster on Saturday Night Live. But apparently, Lorne Michaels looked at him and Donald Glover and went, I don't get it. And then cast that punky person. Jesus. You can't win them all. Here's another one. Stephen Colbert probably would have been incredible. They still tell stories in Chicago at the Second City about Stephen Colbert and his character work. Him and Steve Carell, these two guys were struggling artists on the same page. People walking down the street could have paid $10 to go sit in there and watch Steve Carell and Stephen Colbert just improv ridiculous characters. And now look at him. And apparently Lorne Michaels saw Stephen Colbert and went, nope, sorry. I don't think he's got the chops for this business. Jim Carrey. Here's another one. Hey, that's all right. That's all right, Lorne. You don't want to cast Jim Carrey? Marlon Wayans is casting for a new show called In Living Color, and he thinks that Jim Carrey's got something. Sorry, Lorne. So my big misses out of this list so far, my big misses for Lorne Michaels is not casting Donald Glover, not casting Aubrey Plaza, not casting Jim Carrey, and not casting Nick Kroll. There you go. So far, those are the big ones. Imagine that SNL cast. Jim Carrey, Donald Glover, Nick Kroll, Aubrey Plaza. That's incredible. We'll even throw in Ellie Kemper. Why not? We'll throw her in there because I think she would be good. Kevin Hart. Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. Kevin Hart. I don't need Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart seems to be here's Kevin Hart's appeal. He's got great energy. And he seems like a good guy. He seems like Kevin Hart is fun. And he's bringing the energy. And anybody that brings that kind of energy is typically met by smiling people. Somebody who's like, Kevin Hart, I'm only 4'3" and I'm bouncing around and I'm funny and I'm smiling and I'm about to say something funny. It never comes. It never comes. That's the appeal of Kevin Hart for me. I watch him doing this stand-up thing, and I'm like, people are just laughing hysterically at not what he's saying, but his inflection or his face or the half-baked scenario that he was presented. I know he's the biggest comedian in the world, but I also know that there's a whole bunch of us who are idiots. So that might explain it. No, I do not think Kevin Hart has the chops to have been a great on Saturday Night Live. Not that he doesn't have the chops to be a cast member, because we're talking about a show that's got hundreds of former cast members who none of us can, remember. There you go, Zach Galifianakis. What would you do? His comedic talent is undeniable. He is one of the funniest comedic actors, but again, he's a weirdo. He's playing that weirdo character. I'd love to see Zach Galifianakis do more. But Zach Galifianakis, if I was presented with him auditioning for Saturday Night Live, I don't know that I'd cast him either. But holy shit. No, knowing what he was capable of, you take a gamble, right? You go, well, whatever. I mean, he might only do one character, but it'll be incredibly popular. I don't know. I can see it. I can see why they didn't go with Zach Galifianakis. His audition probably seemed a little too one-dimensional. Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman. That's a big mistake. Maybe actually not for him. I bet you it was good for Pee Wee Herman, because if Pee Wee Herman had been cast out of the Groundlings around about 1982-83, that means he would have been on a Saturday Night Live show in the Dick Ebersol years, which were terrible. And just ask Joe Piscopo how that worked out for him. Although you could also look to Eddie Murphy, but let's not kid ourselves. Eddie Murphy got big and got out quick. So maybe it's best that Paul Rubens didn't get cast on Saturday Night Live back in the early 80s, because he was then able to develop the character of Pee Wee Herman, and the rest is history. So maybe that was good. Lisa Kudrow, here you go. This probably would have been an incredible casting decision by Saturday Night Live. They screwed the pooch on this. First of all, Lisa Kudrow, you know her as Phoebe from Friends, right? Phoebe, how great is Phoebe, right? But you're looking at Phoebe and you're going, I don't understand how that woman does it on Saturday Night Live. She doesn't seem to... Dude, Phoebe was a character. Phoebe was a character created by an incredibly talented and brilliant woman named Lisa Kudrow. Lisa Kudrow is legit. She is nothing like Phoebe, even though she sort of plays that tone in a lot of her stuff. She is so much more. I bet you Lisa Kudrow would have been incredible on Saturday Night Live. She is by far, in my opinion, the most talented person in the Friends cast. Of all of those people, Lisa Kudrow is the one that I've seen do other things where I'm like, fucking look at her. Holy crap, did I have her wrong? I mean, I liked Phoebe, but I always thought Phoebe was fairly disposable. Who else is like that? Somebody else is like that. There was somebody on another show that always played a character. It was an ensemble show, and you never really looked at them as that character. And then a couple of years later, it's like, holy fuck, that person was good. Well, I mean, we just talked about Donald Glover. I think Donald Glover is an example of that. He was an ensemble character. The first 5 episodes or whatever that you saw of Community, Donald Glover was probably not one that stood out. You were like, that Chevy Chase is funny. That Joel McHale is funny. That Adderall Annie is funny, but you probably didn't get to Troy. And then later you're like, holy fuck, that guy was good. And he was hidden in the weeds with all those other people. Lisa Kudrow, also not allowed on Saturday Night Live. Probably should have been. She probably could have been great. Kel Mitchell? I don't know. We got one. We got Kevin or Kellen, Kevin, Kel Mitchell and Keenan. We got Keenan. Do we need both of them? One of them had to be rejected. And unfortunately, it seems like it was Kel. Although, let's turn our attention to Keenan Thompson of Keenan and Kel. Keenan made it on Saturday Night Live, and he has been on it longer than anyone else in history, right? I think he's going for the record of being the longest serving cast member of Saturday Night Live. Good for him. Keenan was a child star who figured out a way to ride out 20 years on an American television show. It's a good way to keep the consistent money rolling in. Without Jordan Peele. Oops. I love these stories. Both Key and Peele auditioned for Lorne Michaels, and I've heard Jordan Peele talk about it. Jordan Peele, of course, is the new Alfred Hitchcock. You think I'm kidding? He is like the closest thing Hollywood has had to a director of suspense and horror films like Hitchcock since Hitchcock. He's a true artist, Jordan Peele, in his films. But of course, we also know him as Key and Peele. We know him as half of the sketch comedy team of Key and Peele. Jordan Peele is the superstar, and apparently he once auditioned for Saturday Night Live, and Lorne Michaels said, I don't see it. You're not going to make it, kid. And on his way out the door, Jordan Peele was like, one day in 20 years, they're going to say that I'm the new Hitchcock. Look at him. He even looks... You wouldn't think, looking at this guy, right? You wouldn't think that he's like a funny son of a bitch. He looks all very serious in his suit. Jordan Peele. All right, there you have it, folks. Those are all big celebrities who were turned down by Lorne Michaels as they attempted to make it to Saturday Night Live. I might do some drop-ins tonight. I'm going to tonight is the DNC. If something goes off the rails, I'll jump in and I'll try and do something live tonight. But otherwise, we'll see you back here tomorrow. May I direct your attention one last time? PugsandKellyShow.com is a direct link to help my partner Kelly's family. They're trying to get through the next couple of months while they figure out all the things that happen when somebody dies wildly, unexpectedly, without any kind of documentation about where shit goes. So help them out if you can, please. PugsandKellyShow.com is the direct link to the GoFundMe. But if you're somebody who's like, that sounds like a scam, you can just go to GoFundMe.com and just search In Loving Memory of Kelly Moore. Thank you all once again for all your kind words over the last week. Look at us. We're back to normal. We did a show today. Love you. Appreciate you. We'll see you back here tomorrow at noon for more Rant with me, Pugs Moran, here from the Kelly Moore Memorial Studios in the beautiful E-Gallery in Dallas's Design District. For the RadioMisfits.com podcast and streaming platform, this has been a Radio Misfits Dallas production.